A theme we'll be embarking upon over the course of this month: British films from the 80s and 90s listed in the BFI's Top 100 of the 20th century. A slightly scattered order of the ones I considered to be most of interest, and beginning with Ken Loach's My Name is Joe. Ken Loach is long overdue for this program, one of the great heroes of the medium, and of positive values in the world today, an enduring force of good ethics, whose consistent priorities have never changed from a focus upon the struggling in society, how the pitfalls and callousness of capitalism, a completely non-partisan issue, don't even start, will too often injure those who are most actively participating. They have been given no choice but to, and their parliamentary representatives potentially more interested in maintaining a comfortable lifestyle, rather luxurious by comparison, than elevating the material circumstances of their constituents. Ken Loach aims his narrative lens on the plausibly obvious, but then why ever not? He seeks to depict reality via his fiction, and he has engaged in non-fiction verite very fluidly, and so if he is to report the state of our shared reality, why not point his camera toward the mammoth issue in this, our limited space? Loach's stridence is an inspiration and a rather harsh light on one's own effort in attempting to right any wrong in the world and the culture one chooses to participate in, to consume the goods and services of. Ken Loach's decades-long critique of the systems enabling inexcusable suffering and perpetual economic stagnation is worthy of comparison to Chomsky, Hedges, or Parenti, seemingly tireless champions of the silenced and disregarded, drawing attention to the injustices of the world via participation in the media apparatus, via their academic research, journalistic investigation, or educational activism. Loach has chosen to uphold this principle via socially conscious filmmaking, illustrating his disappointments in the post-war consensus, the Attlee-enabled welfare state having been fervently chipped away at by the greedy, the opportunistic, the predatory. Because that's life, which apparently hasn't changed from the time of our hunter-gatherer ancestors, not at all when you really think about it after you receive a digital paycheck, make a cup of coffee via running water and electricity, and not worry about cave lions at any point in the week. Yes, every man for himself still, understandably, not enough to go around. We all just have to do our best to watch out for those cranky cave lions. No, really, Loach is a great capitalist in a respect. He's a studious and determined consumer, eager to expect the best from those offering him services in order that they might improve. We are paying for it with our taxes. We may as well act like anticipated buyers. There may be buyer's remorse as the go. So why call it democracy? Just because the guy will leave if he gets voted out, but he may as well stay in, the new guy won't act that differently. That kid from the Metallica 1 video ought to receive clarification. That's democracy, son. Is that how that video went? The kid asked some big question, and Hetfield or whatever says, "That's democracy, son." It may as well. Those guys are such pathetic corks. So anyhow, My Name is Joe was Loach's big statement of British downtrodden, or Scottish in this specific instance, male existence in the later 1990s, the new millennium on the horizon, utopia a sinister tease, tragic. My Name is Joe might find itself swelling in sensationalist melodrama to a mild degree toward the climax of the film mostly, yet there is a certain feeling that one ought not to dismiss the tragedies one doesn't hear about in this world, hidden away in the lesser animated pages of the newspapers, pointed out by a morbid reader. God, imagine that, eh? I recall how the recently discussed film 1995's Heat inspired a similar bank robbery attempt which ended in a very violent shootout in the streets with police, and two armed men managed to hold them off, the responding officers, in a manner not dissimilar to how the Free had managed in Heat, to the bewilderment of some cynical observers in a cinema. But real life can be crazier than fiction. I bet you have a story in life which, if shared in a film, others would consider it too coincidental and contrived to be part of an otherwise good piece of narrative fiction. My Name is Joe is highly commendable as kitchen sink awareness, and an apparently necessary film about the continued miseries of certain striving workers in the lead-up to the 21st century in the UK. If the story is to be considered too small for the newer century's looming shadow, then that is all the more justification that it needed to be told. My Name is Joe proves that Ken Loach still had every intent to elevate the worlds around him and to solidify their plights in the film discourse, because these stories of human interest are more relevant, realer, and of emotional potency, more resonant, sincerer, and sharper than any contrivance thought of by the comparable bourgeois luxury classes. Ken Loach's potential dismissal as lefty this or that is really disappointing. He is the most actively Christian filmmaker in the English language, and if that is to say that the other end of the political spectrum is openly abandoning Christianity and that this whole time it was the socialist movement which embodied Christ's life and teachings, then so be it. Ken Loach, a hero. Thanks again, friends.